Atiba Edwards, and I am 27 years old.
And, in your own words, what are you doing right now to kind of make the world a better place?
Just creating inspirations and allowing people to dream in reality.
And how does that, what form does that take? What have you done concretely to do that?
Yeah, through a couple different channels. So the first would be giving artists from any type of genre or discipline a space and a stage for them to bring their work to a larger stage and increase their audience and really step outside of their normal comfort zones in terms of the places they go to show their art or perform, but also the audiences that they have in place. So, I mean, we've done a series of concerts in Ann Arbor, Michigan, as well as and throughout New York City. But we also have a magazine called Insight, which gives a lot of aspiring journalists or folks who are interested in presenting their work, be it photography, headdresses, making ice cream, giving a tangible survey of the art world that we deliver online and in print. So it gives, a group of artists every issue. We do about 4 issues a year. A group of artists, another space and a stage for them to increase their work and gain feedback, because one of the key parts is that if you're practicing an art, it's always good to, get feedback, be it positive or negative.
Yeah, definitely. And how old were you when you started F.O.K.U.S, and what inspired you to do it?
Yeah, we started F.O.K.U.S. I think I was about 19 or 20 at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I think I was probably around 19 when I started it. It was really, I was with one of my best friends, Alma. We were watching a movie, an independent documentary, and we were in New York at the time over the summer, and we said, man, we're getting ready to go back to school in about a month, and our freshman year was kind of boring in the sense of, what we do and really what's out there for us to enjoy, especially coming from New York and being able to see and take part in virtually anything. Going out to Ann Arbor, Michigan, we saw a very big void that needed to be filled. So we stepped in and said, look, there's a lot of things we want to change, a lot of things we want to do, and rather than, trying to navigate through the channels and deal with the different political landscape that we may run into, let's just set out and create it ourselves, because who better to change a problem than those who see the problem, was kind of our mind state. So, yeah, we started F.O.K.U.S that summer, spent about 2 or 3 weeks coming up with a logo and a name and, what's it going to mean, and then we finally settled on fighting obstacles, knowing ultimate success, F.O.K.U.S, F.O.K.U.S, and also using the I as the primary logo, so it's giving a sense of, both the I looking at the world, but also the I looking within.
Definitely. And, this might be very apparent with what you're doing, but how are some ways you work across traditional boundaries with F.O.K.U.S?
Yeah, I think it varies in so many ways. So one of the first traditional boundaries we always try to cross is the idea of an art show. Your typical art show, for the most part, focuses on one discipline. So it may be, canvas work to photography. So what we tend to set out and do is, at our art shows, make sure we are bringing in more than one discipline into that setting. So we did an art show with visual canvas works, photography, architecture, and hand drawings and photographs. And that idea was behind the sense of these are all unique, different worlds, and they all have their own audiences, and it's a detriment to keep them separate from each other. So why can't the architect and the photographer and the freehand drawing artists get together in the same room and learn from each other and, figure out if there's something that can be done together, but also just interact and mix and mingle their audiences. And really the other part that we try to do is similar along those lines, is crossing, the different demographics and sort of lines of demarcation that are out there in society, where we do a bunch of events and we always strive for having diversity at our events. It's something we don't, you don't walk in the door saying, welcome to a diverse event. It's more so you walk in and you realize, wow, I'm one of the art shows we did, we had somebody from Detroit who had a predominantly the circle of friends and the circle that saw his work were, people who grew up around him. So, for the most part, all African Americans. But here he is showing his work and getting feedback from people from the suburbs of Chicago, the suburbs of Michigan, New York, wherever it may be. So those are, sort of two ways we've done it. And it's just the idea that, look, as a group of, our average age is sort of 25 or so. A group of 25-year-olds can really set out to make change in the world, and we all individually get inspired to continue working within F.O.K.U.S, but also building out and doing things on our own as well.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like you're breaking some traditional barriers and combining a lot of disciplines, which is great. Kind of switching gears here more to a general focus, what are some of the challenges you see facing this so-called millennial generation and young people today?
I think it's a combination of attention, both the millennial generation's growing lack of attention in some ways, but also the attention that's given to them where you're seeing an increased focus on, sort of this is the new, you had the baby boomers, then you kind of had the Gen X people, and this is the new group that we're working on. So the first part, there's a sense where the millennial generation at times, especially with technology, that the attention span is being shorter and shorter, so they jump around a lot. And the idea of really developing something from the ground up at times gets lost because it's just a matter of attention and patience. So I think that's one of the challenges there is really figuring out the right balance between attention and patience before you just almost walk away and try to restart something new. And the other idea is really, the attention given to the generation. It's the sense that we have to make sure that what we're getting as a millennial generation is true attention, not just sort of a shallow, let me leverage you for something type of aspect where, we're, as evident in many different slices of life, we're a very powerful group of individuals, but it's to make sure that people or individuals, organizations don't step in to try and leverage that power in a very one-off setting. So it's kind of like, hey, I'm doing X, let's make sure we pick a marketing push to get millennial generations involved. X is accomplished, and I've walked away from the generation. So there's a sort of, loyalty from within and a loyalty from external of the generation, I think, are two of the primary challenges we have facing us. And really it's just the idea of also the beauty of technology and sort of the double-edged sword of technology where it was, first created to really bring us together and, cross distances and far beyond any imagination. But as we grow more and more sort of technology addicted, there's a way that we're almost dividing ourselves where we lose touch with the value and the beauty of a face-to-face conversation or a in-person meeting or a legit full-blood phone call versus email, text, or some other sort of very distant type of conversations. I think those are sort of some of the two main areas is really just the attention and then using technology for the better without dividing ourselves and keeping, using technology without losing the sense of humanity.
Yep. And following up, what advice do you have for a young person who wants to get more involved in their community or youth issues? What would you tell them?
I think the first thing is just be focused and honed in on exactly what you want to do because, an involvement within the community is a very big box, and it's really what aspect of that or in what component do you want to get involved in the community? Like what is the one thing you want to change that growing up you didn't see or you weren't able to experience? So I think that's the first thing to go out there and really work on the aspect of you can only change what you know. So if you're trying to program or work to help an audience that you really have no idea, you may end up doing more of a disservice. So I think it's more so be true to, what you know and what you don't know and what you think is missing versus coming up and working off of it, a assumption of what's not there. So I think that's really the first part, just getting comfortable with the self in terms of what can you add because, growing up, I know I did not have this, and now that I've experienced it, I want more people around to go ahead and do it. And then the other aspect is really, find the right people within and external to the community that you want to work with, because that's really the biggest part. Is every community has pillars of individuals that are known and can help make things happen, and you should link into them, especially if you're going to make a change. You want to make sure you're involving all the key parties as much as feasible.